And the other thing we wanted to update you about is our transition system or process was the search for a new senior pastor. So just an update for you. We have put together a team of 4 men, 3 women, and Dave Puntanay is going to be the chair of that, and we had our first meeting this past week. And so it went great. I am super excited about the quality of these people. They are going to do a wonderful job of kind of figuring out exactly what we need as we kind of go into the new chapter of our life as a church. And I wanted Dave to be able to come up, give you a chance, if you don't know him, to hear a little bit from him. Also wanted to let you know that on the church website is a page, and we're going to refresh it probably in the next 3 or 4 days, that gives you the schedule of what it looks like for the next few months as we kind of go through this process. And so please kind of check that. If you check it right now, it's we haven't updated it yet. But in the next 3 days, you should see a new update of that schedule. But Dave, come on up here and talk a little bit about that. I don't know, Dave spends most of his time around here back in that sound booth, running the sound and everything else. I don't know if you know, Dave, for how many years did you work for the city?
35 years.
35 years, and he was in charge of at the beginning, the IT department, and he won't brag about this, so let me brag about this. The last year he was there, that was 3 years ago now? Right. 3 years ago, their IT department was voted by their peers to be the #1 IT program for cities for the entire country. So what that meant is that Dave knows all about getting the right people on the bus and getting them kind of aligned to do the work they need to do. So when we started thinking about who's a good person to kind of oversee this selection process, well, Dave's name immediately comes to mind because you've done hundreds really of these kind of things. So Dave, tell us a little bit about what this looks like and where we are.
Well, thanks, Paul. And first of all, I just want to say that I appreciate the confidence that you've put in me, and consider it an honor to be able to serve all of you and to serve God in the capacity of kind of chairing up and leading that search committee that's coming up. So some of the things that we've had going on, this really started last year when Paul sort of began talking about, his plans for the future and his next chapter and his desire to kind of step down then from the senior pastor position sometime in 2022. And so it all kicked off with a study by an outside consultant by the firm is Vanderbloemen. And they came in and kind of helped us do a little initial research and sort of some planning on the front end to talk about what we would need to be thinking about, what we'd need to be doing, and starting to gather a little information about Family in Christ to help us and planning what that next stage might look like. So we were really satisfied with the report that came back. They provided some great detail and great information for us to consider. So the Elder Board decided to proceed with going ahead and executing a contract, and that contract's been negotiated and signed now with Vanderbloemen, between Vanderbloemen and FIC, in order for them to do a phase 2 for us. That phase 2 will consist of a number of different things that it's really kicking off this month. So let me tell you a little bit. I'll just spend a couple minutes and tell you a little bit about what that's going to look like. And then direct you again, as Paul already has, to the Pastor Transition website, which will contain a little bit more detail then. But I'll hit on a couple of those things that are happening. So this month, we're going to have our executive recruiter, recruiter that's assigned to our account, on site here at Family in Christ, really digging into what we do, who we are, really kind of finding out what our DNA looks like, understanding what our culture is, attending a worship service, and in addition to that, meeting with our deacons and staff and the elder board to dive deeper into what's important for Family in Christ. What do we want to see in the next senior pastor here? And, you know, kind of what that looks like for us. They'll take all of that information they learn while they're here, conducting those interviews as well as attending our services and getting to know our church a little bit more. They'll take all of that information along with some pretty comprehensive questionnaires that they've provided for us to complete that we'll be working on here over the next 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. And in addition to that, and important to note also, is that you have an opportunity to provide input into this right now. So I'd encourage you, if you have thoughts about what's important, what you would like to see in a new senior pastor, what kind of attributes you'd like to have in a new senior pastor, really just what's most important. There's an opportunity for you on that pastor transition web page to fill out a form and just give us your comments, give us your feedback. Because what we're planning to do is take those comments and feedback and then consolidate that into a document that we'll also be sharing with Vanderbloemen. So they'll have not only the interviews, their experience here, those questionnaires, but they'll also have some consolidated feedback on what you all would like to see in a new senior pastor. So they're going to take all of that information that they put together, and they're going to create a search profile for us, and that's going to come back to the elder board and the selection committee to be able to make sure that they've collected and they've completely understood what's most important for us. Then we'll take that, we'll approve that profile once it's finalized, and then they'll help the church in creating some marketing videos, which will really help prospective candidates know what we're doing as a church to leave our imprint on the community, what we're doing for outreach, what we're doing in some of our ministries. And I've viewed a couple of those that Vanderbloemen has helped churches put together, and they've done a very fine job. So I think it's really going to help us to attract some candidates. And once that marketing video is up and the search profile is completed, Vanderbloemen will be officially opening that position. And they'll begin accepting applications for that position. But it's not just accepting applications and sort of doing that on the back. They're going to be actively engaged in the recruiting process. They've got a database that has over 90,000 prospective candidates across the nation who have, and they'll be able to research that database and find candidates that maybe have the right attributes and skills, education that we're looking for as a church. They will then reach out to those individuals and ask them if they would be interested in maybe this position with Family in Christ. So once they do all that, they're going to have a list of prospective candidates. They're going to have applications coming back in. They're going to go through a multi-level screening process, and that's really going to be a great service for Family in Christ, because they're going to be doing a lot to assess and vet out those candidates for us. And with the goal, and there'll be more detail online, I won't get into it all today, but the goal will be to come back to Family in Christ, to the selection committee, and present the top 3, 4, 5, maybe a maximum of 6 candidates who they really think meet all the requirements based on the feedback that you've provided, based on the feedback that they've collected during their site visit. The selection committee then is going to go through yet another filtering and vetting process. So we're going to be doing Zoom interviews and kind of watching samples of their messages that may be online, and and once we look at those 3 to 6, we'll decide there's probably a couple we'll want to bring on site to do some further interviews with and really get to know and have the elders have a chance to meet. So we'll be doing that as well as part of this process. So the dates will be in that document that's on the Family in Christ webpage, on the transition page. But those are estimated dates, of course, but our hope is that we're able to bring on our new senior pastor by the end of the summer. So that's kind of the schedule and some of the things that are going to be happening here over the next number of months. And we just would really appreciate your input, and not just that, but your prayers for those that are going to be serving on the selection committee, for the elders, that you just pray for our guidance, pray for wisdom for us, pray for discernment that we can help in bringing the right next senior pastor into family in Christ. We have shoes that are going to be very hard to fill, but I'm certain that God has a good plan in place and that our next chapter will be a success.
I'm certain that.
I hope that's not too much.
No, it's not too much. It's great. And get on site if you want to kind of review the whole thing. So let me just talk with you for 1 or 2 more minutes here. For many of us, this is the first time the church has been, I've been here 25 years, so there's a whole almost generation here that this is all new. So one of the things, and some of you have been churches, and the typical American church, I think they rotate through pastors every 5 to 7 years, so it's kind of a slam dunk to do it. This is all new to us, so there's going to be some anxiety about it. But I want to assure you about something. I'm not part of the selection team, but I am going to be walking side by side with Dave, and certainly as an elder, through the whole thing. So you can be assured we're not going to end up with someone that doesn't do what we need to do as a church. I have, over the years, been kind of the go-to person when churches end up becoming vacant in our area, in our denomination, and kind of helping with the council and the leaving pastor. And honestly, there's been almost none of them that have gone well. So one of the things I want to do as one of my final legacies around here is I want to do this not only well, I want to do this seamlessly. And I am convinced we can. I will be continuing to do everything I need to do, running full speed with that baton in my hand until the day I can completely, firmly give it to someone else without them dropping it, and they can take it to the next level. A lot of people have said, have asked me about what I'm going to do next. I haven't thought a whole lot about what I'm going to do next. I'm going to be continuing in our denomination. I've been asked to be the kind of regional pastor for the other pastors in the area, and I'm happy to kind of do a little bit of that. But the point is, this is not about me needing a break or I'm all worn out and can barely get to the finish line. This is me saying we need to think about the next chapter, and this is a good time to do it. Now, when I first began talking to the elders about this was back during Easter, I thought by now we would be done with COVID and we really could do this with, the air cleared and everything else. So hopefully by summer, we'll be in a better position than we are right now. But all to say, I am excited about this. I know God's going to be leading us in this. The selection team is going to be very busy kind of looking through candidates. The elders are going to be very busy as well. So pray for them. If you've got thoughts and comments and input, please talk to the elders about that. They seek that. They want that. But I'm convinced this is going to be a terrific experience of transition, and seeing how God has been faithful to us over all these years, and he will continue to do that into our future as well. Okay? So I'm not going anywhere. I've told you, I think, mostly about this. This is where our home is, so I'm still going to be involved here, but it's going to obviously be someone else who's going to be carrying the baton.